makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part.
The people demand Jimmy Dore, so I'm going to give them Jimmy Dore. Though not Jimmy Dore himself, rather someone who appears on a regular basis on the Jimmy Dore Show, a guy called Max Blumenthal, who I recently made a video debunking his own video where he goes to Venezuela to an upscale Caracas supermarket in order to debunk the idea that there is a humanitarian crisis in Venezuela or that there is any scarcity. And it's a long video that I made. It's an hour and a half, but I strongly recommend people go watch it. At least some parts of it I've separated it into chapters, so you don't have to watch the whole thing. But the point of that video is, again, it's not a difference of opinion that I have with him. It's the fact that he is wrong about certain things and he lies about those things. He lies openly and shamelessly. And in this video that I'm going to show you from a couple of days ago, he does that again. He literally misconstrues something, an incident on Twitter involving Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her views on Cuba. And he will distort this to show you that AOC is secretly some CIA, State Department, regime change narrative supporter. So let's watch.
It's not just Biden. I mean, you haven't even gotten to AOC's tweets. But...
No, I haven't. Oh, tell me about AOC's tweets.
Oh, I thought you were going to go off on this.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know about them.
Oh, this is remarkable. I mean, it's absolutely remarkable.
Tell me.
So yeah, I haven't had a chance to even comment on Twitter.
We'll put these in post. I'll put these in post. So go ahead and tell me.
I'll keep it fast because I know you're running behind. I'll try to be brief. But it really sums up the whole AOC phenomenon. Someone who marketed themselves as a socialist to get elected, to get young people excited, just playing off the socialist brand, which is kind of hollow.
So my issue with sites like The Grayzone and people like Max Blumenthal is that they never propose the kind of world that they want to live in. All they do is basically obsess over this one single issue of US imperialism, or in the case of people like Jimmy Dore, just anti-establishment. And that's all they have. They never tell you what they stand for. They only tell you what they stand against. And I think that is a warning sign. If you follow people who only antagonize, who only criticize, but never give you a vision of the world they want to live in or the country they want to live in. Because I think the left should engage in a more optimistic, not so combative. I mean, there is obviously a space for fighting against oppression, for fighting against inequality, for fighting against injustice. Of course, that is intrinsic to leftism. That'll never change, and it never should change. But we cannot just focus on that without also presenting people a vision of what we want. And it doesn't just stop with ending these kinds of, the moment that US imperialism ends, that does not necessarily mean that the world that will exist is the one that we want to live in. Because other countries are also engaged in imperialism and in human rights abuses and civil rights abuses. And a lot of these are countries that people like Blumenthal and the rest of the Grayzone dipshits give a free pass. So is this really the world that you want to live in? Is replacing the US by, say, Russia or China the solution to all of the globe's problems? I don't think it is in any way. So I just don't know what they stand for. I really don't. They never speak about their economic views. For all I know, they can just be like tankies and Nazbols. There's nothing to suggest that they're like actually committed socialists.
And, they had a few protests in Cuba. There's people calling to bomb Cuba. They're being starved. The Biden administration is not pulling back the Trump sanctions. And in comes AOC with a tweet. I was waiting for her to say something in Spanish saying, "We stand with the Cuban protesters and we denounce the repressive dictatorship of Miguel Diaz-Canel, the president of Cuba." And so she totally supported the regime change operation, didn't say anything about sanctions or the 60-year blockade. And then...
Okay, so the first point that I'm going to debunk is what he just said, that AOC did not mention the embargo at all, did not mention the sanctions, that it was all about supporting the protesters. And the first hint that he's lying to you is that tweet was clearly not a single tweet. It was part of a thread. You could have seen it was the 1 out of 4. Let's see if he talks about shows any of the other 3 tweets.
She starts getting owned, and people are starting to set her straight. And so she deletes the tweet.
No!
And then she puts up another tweet in English and Spanish where she says, well, we oppose the U.S. blockade, but we also stand with the protesters against repression. So, again, trying to have it both ways. It shows how completely hollow she is, how divorced from anything that could be remotely construed as socialist.
So, second part of the story is she got owned by that one tweet and responded by redacting it and publishing it where she does mention the embargo. That's the story, okay? We'll see how this is all a lie.
Is how she's just basically a brand and an online influencer who tries to successfully read the room to advance her ambitions, but literally stands for nothing.
So you would have agreed with my criticisms of her over Force the Vote?
Well, I went on your show to I think I came on the show to. I mean, come on. I mean, this is perfect. That was a perfect example. I mean, you pointed out the most perfect example of her choosing opportunism over principle on that, because she would have had to have defied Nancy Pelosi. Here, she would have had to have defied the national security state, but she couldn't justify it before the constituents that she duped into supporting her when she ran as a DSA candidate. And another shocking thing I saw, I can't figure this out, but Pitbull, like this moron reggaeton artist, came out.
That's the only part of the video I agree with. Pitbull is a moron reggaeton artist.
It with a video supporting regime change in Cuba and said that Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, who is like this kind of reptilian shapeshifter who owns the Washington Post, should come into Cuba and fix the situation. And Ilhan Omar liked Pitbull's video on Twitter, and I don't know why she did that. I haven't seen her say anything about Cuba, but she's supposed to be like the good one of the squad. Why did she like that?
You got me, buddy. I don't know. You got me.
Okay, so let's start debunking this by showing the whole Twitter thread. And the only place where I saw the screenshots of it was from a Peruvian paper. So still, I'm going to have to translate this for you. So here goes. First tweet, the one that was shown on that segment. We see Cubans rise up in protests for their rights like never before. We are in solidarity with them, and we condemn the anti-democratic actions led by the President Diaz-Canel. So, if you just read this one tweet, yeah, it does kind of sound like your typical American politician. It does look exactly like the tweets from State Department officials. Then let's look at the second tweet. The suppression of the media, discourse, and protests are grave violations of basic civil rights, which is true. That is going on. But we should also point out the contribution of the United States to the suffering of the Cuban people. Our embargo of almost 60 years. Turns out she is mentioning the embargo, contrary to what Blumenthal said. It gets better. Last month, once more, the UN voted overwhelmingly to ask the United States to lift its embargo on Cuba. The embargo is absurdly cruel, and like many other American policies directed at Latin Americans, cruelty is the point. Holy shit, like this is super loaded. Like this is rare to ever see a sitting American politician use language like this to describe the embargo. I mean, this is basically saying like the cruelty isn't consequential to the embargo. It's part of the design of it. And not only the embargo, she's stating that a lot of American policy towards Latin America is based on cruelty. This is crazy. No wonder Max Blumenthal didn't want to show you the whole thread. And finally, I thoroughly reject the defense of the embargo by the Biden administration. It is never acceptable that we use cruelty as a point of, as a means of influence against people on a day-to-day basis. There you go. That's the whole thread. Clearly not what Max Blumenthal wanted you to hear. So now let's so just to prove that these were deleted, this is the archives from ProPublica, which apparently collects all the deleted tweets from major political figures, but there you go. Same ones. We're not making this up. And let's look at her subsequent. So then she deleted the whole thread, not just the first one. She deleted the whole thread. and then wrote a different one. And let's read the whole thing. We are seeing Cubans rise up in protest for their rights like never before. Does this sound remarkably similar? Oh, we see Cubans rise up and protest like never before. It's the same thing. This is not a redacted statement. This is basically just taking the 4 tweets word by word and turning them into a paragraph. So she didn't change anything. You read the whole thing and then read read the other ones. The last statement. It is never acceptable for us to use cruelty as a point of leverage against everyday people. We must also name the U.S. contribution to Cuban suffering, our 60-year-old embargo. This embargo is absurdly cruel, and like too many other U.S. policies targeting Latin Americans, cruelty is the point. There was no change. That's what Max Blumenthal wanted to imply, that she changed it to make it seem, that she was addressing both sides when the original tweet was just about the protest. That's not what happened. He lied about this. He lied to you in your face. Something that, I should add, anyone could have debunked in a matter of minutes on the internet. So that's the shamelessness of people like Blumenthal, because you know what? He knows that people aren't gonna double check these things. He knows that people, like his fan base, the people who watch The Grayzone and who watch Jimmy Dore, they are aware that they are not committed to truth in any sort of way. That they are not committed to investigating reality. They know they are brainwashed. And they know that they can say whatever the hell they want, and their public will believe it. And proof of this is that when the original tweet came out, I had a Twitter exchange with someone who basically wrote this. The first tweet is still bad enough. I don't need to read the second part to know that the first statement was bad. That's exactly what people saw. They saw the first tweet. They immediately thought, oh my God, this is, CIA State Department narrative. BS. And they don't even bother to read the rest. Like when you challenge them, they don't. That's crazy. That's how brainwashed they are. I'm not going to show you the rest of this exchange because her reply to me when I said read the whole thing made reference to my mother. So that's the kind of shit-brained leftist who follow people. And some of them aren't even leftist. They just like the aesthetics of the left, but otherwise pretty much just are right-wing MAGA people in all but name. So that's the kind of audience that Jimmy Dore and the Grayzone cultivate. And yeah, I mean, you still don't believe me? Let's watch that bit again. Let's absolutely leave any shadow of a doubt that the narrative that Blumenthal presented is not what actually happened.
And in comes AOC with a tweet. I was waiting for her to say something in Spanish saying, we stand with the Cuban protesters and we denounce the repressive dictatorship of Miguel Diaz-Canel, the president of Cuba. And so she totally supported the regime change operation, didn't say anything about sanctions or the 60-year blockade. And then...
So that's the lie. She did mention it in 3 of the other 4 tweets that you didn't show on purpose.
She starts getting owned and people are starting to set her straight. And so she deletes the tweet.
No!
And then she puts up another tweet in English and Spanish where she says, well, we oppose the U.S. blockade, but we also stand with the protesters against repression.
Oh.
So, again, trying to have it both ways.
And again, the implication is that this was somehow redacted, changed from the original. That's not what happened. It's the exact same thread, word for word. That's how he lies to you. Now, Pitbull. I ended up following Ilhan Omar just to see if she indeed had liked that tweet, and I found no evidence that she did. If you look at the likes, literally no one that I follow liked that tweet. So it could very well be that she liked it initially and then retracted her like, and now we can't tell. But it is odd that he didn't provide a screenshot of this, because clearly he screenshotted AOC's original tweet, and I would think that whenever they have, a smoking gun of some Twitter wrongdoing by their enemies, they would take a screenshot. That's the normal thing that most people do. But he didn't provide any proof whatsoever. And the fact that he just lied so blatantly, so shamelessly about what AOC did makes me truly doubt whether this is true. And there's no way to prove it. So if anyone can find proof that Ilhan Omar effectively liked this tweet, please, I'd love to see it. I would really love to see it. Now, the people wanted me to talk about Jimmy Dore, and I suspect at this point the people want to see the Pitbull video. So I'm not going to disappoint, but cringe warning. This is really terrible. This is proof of why you should never, ever follow the politics of celebrities, because they're fucking morons. So let's watch this.
This is a message to the world. We need to stand up, step up, but if you don't understand what's going on, then you need to wake the fuck up. Not only is this a Cuba event, a Cuba thing, this is a world event. This isn't about politics. This is about saving lives. This is about unity, not division. And bottom line, this is about taking action. Let me tell you something, why I'm frustrated and when I see everybody out there and doing what they're doing, which I love what they're doing. Okay? Because not only do we live for freedom, we ride for freedom, we die for freedom, but we motherfucking appreciate freedom.
I wish he was this passionate about the lack of freedom that many Americans have in terms of, healthcare, for example, which Cuba, a country savaged by a cruel embargo, somehow manages to afford its population. I wish he was that passionate about these issues, but clearly not.
And it gets me hot, it bothers me, and it frustrates me to a certain extent, being a Cuban American and having a platform to speak to the world and not being able to help my own people. Not being able to get them food, not being able to get them water, not being able to get them medicine. But most of all, not being able to help and really get them what they deserve, which is freedom. And this is my way of talking to the world. All world allies get together to help. Global businesses get together to help. People that we're so proud of, people such as Jeff Bezos, Cuban American, graduated from a high school in Miami, built one of the biggest companies in the world, the richest man in the world. He's somebody that can get involved and really help us on what we got. All we can do is create awareness, but politics are going to be politics. And while they figure out what they figure out, we need to figure out how to really help. We need to get creative. We need to figure out solutions while they're losing their lives over there literally for something that we wake up every day and appreciate, which is freedom. So to everybody out there, stand up, step up, and if you don't understand, get with the motherfucking program and wake up. Because this is about freedom and it's about human rights. And to everybody in Cuba, keep the fight up. Para todos los cubanos que están allá afuera y todo lo que está pasando en Cuba ahora mismo. Ustedes son lo que va a motivar el mundo, inspirar el mundo para que vean lo que es de verdad vivir y morir por la libertad.
Wow. Ya tú sabes. Pitbull representando. Jeff Bezos representando. Gobernador de Santi representando al pueblo cubano. Ya tú sabes. God, that was awful. How does he think that global businesses and Jeff Bezos is going to have solutions? Like, Jeff Bezos can't even find a way to get his warehouse staff to pee in dignity, and they expect them to care about the Cuban people. You gotta be fucking kidding me. But yeah, this has nothing to do with the original point that I wanted to make on Max Blumenthal lying to you. So yeah, just really be very wary of the discourse of people like Blumenthal and the Grayzone, because ironically, this isn't journalism. This is propaganda. And this is very ironic coming from a site that brands itself as being the antidote to American propaganda or Western propaganda. And they do exactly the same thing. They use the exact same tactics. And as leftists, we should be smart enough to identify that kind of language, do our own research and realize, oh, they might be lying. Like if you saw this video from Jimmy Dore and realize that he's talking about a tweet that AOC made, and you notice that he only discussed one of the 4 tweets, and you can see in the tweet that there's actually 4 tweets. Dude, go and see the other tweets. Don't just like believe what he said, especially when he has that record of lying. Do your research, and if you realize that he's lying on a regular basis, stop following him. Stop listening to what he has to say on other issues, because clearly there are other issues that other people, that the issues that he covers, that other people also cover, and will probably do a better job at it. Like, don't get your foreign policy and geopolitics analysis from a site like this. So it's infuriating. I could probably go on an hour-long rant about what I think about these people, but I will leave it at that, and simply ask you all to like this video, share this video, more importantly, subscribe to my channel, and yeah, I'll do more videos about Jimmy Dore and the Grayzone, since they all get a lot of likes. So I listen to the market. In the meantime, ya tú sabes, solidaridad con el pueblo cubano.